Well, hello everyone. A warm welcome from Reticulum. My name is Simran Asawa. I'm a PhD student at ETH Zurich, and I'm one of the co-founders of Reticulum. We are a networking community aiming to connect STEM postgrads and undergrad students with STEM professionals to share experiences and grow together. Today, we are here for our first event of a tri-series event, How to Masters Abroad. And with that, I would like to hand over to our moderators for today's session, Shreya and Harsh. The stage is all yours.
Thanks, Simran. So, hi guys, I'm Shreya, and I completed my B.Tech in biotechnology from NIT Warangal. And after graduating, after quite an online year, final year this year, I joined Reticulum, and I'm working with them. So, over to you, Harsh.
Thanks, Shreya. So I'm Harsh, and I've graduated from NIT Warangal. And currently, I'm working as a consultant at IQVIA and as a volunteer at Reticulum. Yeah. So coming back to today's event, which is MS Abroad, the Dilemma. Today, we aim to cover the basic overview of applying to colleges abroad. So with that said, I would now like to present to you all our guest panel who have either completed or are currently pursuing their masters from some prestigious colleges around the globe. So the first guest we have today is Meghna Reddy. She is currently pursuing her MS in Computer Vision at the Robotics Institute, Carnegie Mellon University. Before this, she was working as an engineer at Samsung Electronics. She did her graduation in ECE at NIT Warangal and had done her internship from ISC Bangalore. Other than that, she had also co-founded Swechha with a mission to educate children about mental health and hygiene during her bachelor's. The next guest we have is Oshin. She is currently pursuing her doctoral research on ovarian cancer at SciLife Lab. Earlier than this, she was working as a research assistant at SciLife Lab itself and has also completed her master's thesis from there. She has completed her master's in biomedical engineering information technology from KTH Royal Institute of Technology and bachelor's in biomedical medical engineering from Manipal Institute of Technology. She has also completed internships program at IIT Delhi and Sahara Hospital. During her bachelor's, she was also an active volunteer and participated in social visits to old age homes and mentally challenged homes. Next guest we have is Pratik Vishal with us today. And he's someone with a strong passion for autonomous robotics and machine learning. Currently, he's working as a software engineer at MathWorks and is also a part of their EDG program. He had completed his master's in electrical and computer engineering from Georgia Institute of Technology and his bachelor's in instrumentation and control engineering from National Institute of Technology, Tirchi. He has been a summer research intern at ISC Bangalore and IIT Hyderabad during his bachelor's and has also done a 5-month internship as a vehicle software intern at Tesla during his master's. And last but not the least, we have with us Renuka Sai. She is currently pursuing her MS in chemical engineering at Technische Universität Delft. Before this, she worked at Dr. Reddy's laboratories. She has completed her bachelor's in chemical engineering from NIT Warangal and was also part of the technological entrepreneurship program provided by Indian School of Business. During her bachelor's, she had done internships at Dr. Reddy's and Hindustan Petroleum. Yeah, so that's the introduction of our guest today, and over to you, Shreya.
Yeah, so again, a heartfelt thanks to all the guests for joining us this evening. And just a brief reminder for the format. We will now have a question and answer with our guests, followed by an open discussion in which participants can raise their hands and ask questions. So without wasting any more time, let's start with the questions. So you all can answer in any order that you find it okay. So the first one is, why did you choose to pursue masters abroad and why not M.Tech in India? Or even why didn't you just continue with your jobs? What are the pros and the cons to it?
Oh, yeah. Hi everyone. So personally, I wanted to do my master's because I had 2 years of experience at Dr. Reddy's, where I had a very huge exposure in process design and later implementation with commissioning and then execution of the projects. So, but later I realized that I wanted to carry on some independent research in a particular field of my interest. which I found during the 2 years of my work experience. So that is why I thought that I will do my master's. I will carry on some independent research. The area which I liked the most was transport phenomena and digitalization interlinked with this, because now industries are moving towards industry 4.0, which I'm very curious and interested about. So that is the reason, one of the reason that I choose masters to pursue my masters. Yeah, and I will forward to other guests.
So, hello everyone, my name is Oshin. So, I did my bachelor's from Manipal Institute of Technology in Karnataka, and after that, I was very much interested into my research. I liked whatever I was doing in my bachelor thesis, and hence I joined IIT Delhi as a full-time research assistant. And then I decided that I would like to go for master's because I anyways like research background. I'm very interested in my field and I wanted to try something new. And I think it's better to pursue masters abroad because it gives a lot of more opportunities in terms of you also get exposure in industries and you have many good exposure on the current technology, unlike I think in India. And I saw my supervisors in IIT Delhi, and they were not getting enough of what they were doing. So I think it was not worth in total to pursue masters in India. And also I would say that there is not much of exposure to PhD students, and they are the PhD is not um, how do I say it? Like they don't consider worth it. I think so. Even if you do from very prestigious schools like IIT Delhi or IISc or whatever. So that's why I'm here, and I really like it.
All right. Keeping that in mind, let's get to know more from Meghna. What were your views on this?
Yeah, hi everyone. I hope everyone is doing well. So my story is a bit different. Right after my undergrad, I joined Samsung and I was into hardware engineering, and it was okay. So I was not sure what to do in my life, so I went by elimination method. So let me just try everything and eliminate everything and try out different things. So I joined Samsung and I didn't like it. After 2 years, I was like, I couldn't see myself working there or working in that field for another 10 years or 8 years or something. So I thought, okay, I need to again reevaluate my choices. So then during my undergrad, I had done research in computer vision. I thought, let's try this. So this is my next new thing that I'm trying right now. So why I chose a master's, and like there's a common question that you have a lot of courses online on machine learning, on computer vision. You can do it on your own and you can get a job. And I agree 100%. But I wanted formal learning, a bottom-up approach, so that I can be more confident on what I'm doing rather than just doing it for the sake of it. So I thought a master's degree would give me that edge. And currently, I'm not that interested in pursuing PhD or research. I'm looking to join back the industry. So the master's I have chosen is industry focused. We have research, but it makes you ready for the industry. That's the master's I am currently pursuing, and later I can also shift to research, so I have that flexibility. So master's degree for me the purpose it serves is a shift in my career. So that's the reason I chose this. Yeah, not the conventional way where I want to do things further or build on top of it, but to try different things.
Yeah, pretty interesting actually. And now let's move to Pradeep.
The reason I wanted to do masters was because I was interested in the area of robotics and autonomous systems, and I noticed that there were not a lot of opportunities in India for either coursework or research work in those two areas, which is why I decided to move to US to Georgia Institute of Technology, where they have really good funding for robotics research, and that was one of the areas that I wanted to explore. And that should probably answer why masters in US versus M.Tech in India. And I think the strongest motivating factor was just to just get some more experience in like doing proper research in these areas. And so I actually did have the opportunity to do research work in India as well, in like ISC and IIIT Hyderabad, where I noticed that most of the work that we were doing was related to simulations where we didn't have access to like proper equipment and facilities. So that's one of the main reasons why I moved here.
All right. Also, just a note here, for the subsequent questions, we'll move in the previous order, which is Renuka, then Oshin, then Meghna, and then Pratik. I hope this works for you. So now moving on with the second question. I want to know what was your criteria for selecting countries. Was it the language, like English speaking country versus a non-English speaking country? And what kind of future jobs were you targeting at? These things you would like to know about.
Yeah, for me, I have selected the university based on multiple factors, I would say. The first one is the tuition fee. I didn't want to, like I've seen, especially in US, the tuition fees are pretty much high compared to the European tuition fees. And the second one, which I thought was the program structure, because what I wanted to do in my master's is have some couple of courses which are having in-depth and like in bachelor's we have a not so in deep. The curriculum is not so in depth. The subjects are not in depth. So I wanted to focus on the process designs. So that is the reason I have selected a process at TU Delft, because they have a industrial project within the first year where we get to do a real-time challenge with the company for a whole quarter. So, and then we have a thesis, which is an independent research work as well as an internship. So I thought it's like a whole package for me, which would perfectly suit for me. Basically, I wanted to have an experience of research, which I couldn't get it in bachelor's, because in bachelor's, we were only focused, our thesis was focused on a process design for a given chemical product. And I wanted to do some research which could be some in the real, like a groundbreaking concepts or something like that. So that's why I thought, okay, I will do master's, which also has a research in its thesis. Like we have a thesis with it. I just didn't want to do a one-year program because I've seen a multiple one-year programs in US, which I didn't feel like doing it. And then I have now completed my internship with Henkel. So that was also pretty nice. I got to do like 6 months of internship. Usually it's like 3 months we have, like with the university, it's only 3 months. But then I could also do it like for 6 months. And then the other reason for selecting Europe is, as I told you, it's the tuition fee and then the curriculum. And the third is I have looked into the career prospects, and I have seen that there are multiple pharmaceutical and chemical industries which are in Netherlands and around Netherlands, which is Switzerland. And once you have I knew that if you have a visa here, a work permit, you can work anywhere in Europe. So that also I felt like one of the important reasons that I choose Europe as my place to do my master's. Yeah. Do you have any questions?
Oh, no, nothing. So we can start with Oshina.
Okay. So I would also agree with Renuka that one of the reasons was tuition fees. It is very comparatively to United States, it's less to whatever I was paying. For second thing was I was also looking for the collaborations in medical institutes, and although I have done my master's in a technological university, it's my PhD is from Karolinska Institute, and I think it's one of the very good institutes after John Hopkins. So yes, that's why I chose here to pursue my master's. And since it had a very nice collaboration and we had the flexibility to take courses in KTH as well as in Karolinska, that was the main like my decision making was based on that. And also here, one of the things that I learned after coming here was once you are once you started earning and paying taxes, you can take courses and keep learning wherever you want, and you don't have to pay any fees for that. There will be no tuition fees, unlike I think in United States, no matter what, if you earn, if you don't earn, you have to pay tuition fees either ways. So the flexibility and the perks you have after you start earning here and after you start paying taxes here are almost equal to any European would get. So that was one thing that I really liked. And yes, the PhDs are very highly paid in European countries. So yeah, that's what my
Okay,
reason was.
great. So moving on to you, Meghna.
I don't know what to say because USA, yes, it's pretty costly. They don't pay PhDs that well. Tuition is high. So yeah, the reason I chose is at least for the tech people, US is the place. US is the place. So that's where everything is happening. So you would want to be at a place where things are happening. So yeah, that's the simple answer. And coming to tuition, if you're like actually worried about it that it's too high, all that, you will earn it back. Trust me, like you give yourself 2 years or 3 years max, and you will earn everything back. And again, there are universities where you have tuition fee waivers, and there are ways where you can actually get scholarships. So it's not completely out of your pockets, but there are ways where you can cut down that cost. And yeah, you have the right people around you, so you will eventually do great. So you should always be around people who are smarter than you or who are doing really well, like a lot better than you. That's when you learn. So yeah, for the tech people, I think US is one of the best place. Not because they are the only people who are doing great. It's just the number of people who are doing like a lot of things. So compared to other places. So yeah, it my answer would be just that. I think Pratik has to back me up here, but yeah.
Yeah, so my reasons were pretty similar and was mainly driven by career prospects, mainly because the industries that I was interested in, the opportunities were higher in US. Like there were a lot of companies that were doing things similar to my areas of research, and that was one of the main reasons why I chose to come to the US. There were other opportunities, like EU is definitely really good in terms of research in the area of robotics as well, but then there are not a lot of established companies who are doing these things at such a large scale. Singapore is the other option. I don't know if that has come up earlier, but yeah, even there, I feel like the scale at which the industries operate over here is much higher. So I would say that's the reason why I chose to come here.
All right, I think that was quite well put, what you all had to say. And now coming to the third question, I want to ask, for selecting universities, to what extent do you think college ranking matters? And while selecting, should one go by the very, common procedure of dividing universities into safe, moderate, and ambitious zone? And what sources did you use or would like to recommend to us? So yeah, starting with you, ma'am. Renika.
Yeah, so for me, the first criteria for selecting the university was the choice of the process of product, because in Europe, mostly the curriculums are oriented towards product. And I had three main universities in mind in Europe. One is ETH Zurich and EPFL, and the third is TURL. And then the first two universities were mostly into life sciences and kind of the chemical engineer is kind of a biochemical engineering. It's not purely chemical engineering. I think ETH has process, but then I felt like TU Delft is much nice because in Netherlands there are a lot more process industries compared to Switzerland. So that was the other reason why I chose Netherlands. And the ranking is the secondary for me because the curriculum is more important for me. The right fit, I thought the process in TU Delft is the right fit for me after doing 2 years of my work experience, because I was into process design even in Dr. Reddy's, where we were doing a continuous, usually it's a batch process in pharmaceuticals. So we were doing a continuous operation, like continuous manufacturing, which was a new thing in pharmaceutical industries. And I thought there's a huge scope for chemical engineering in this field. And then I started looking up at universities which offer kind of a similar courses. And then here there's a lot of flexibility with doing the electives as well, because there is this thing called joint interdisciplinary project where you can do for 15 credits with different disciplines of engineering. And the projects are also like really nice. So that's when I thought, okay, this is what I am more interested in. And then I looked at definitely I checked the rankings, because in Netherlands as well there are many universities, and TU Delft has the QS rankings was the one which I was constantly looking at, and it is at the, for chemical engineering at least it's at the top 12 during the year which I applied. So that was the second criteria which I took. Yeah. That's for me.
All right. Great. Yeah, moving to you now.
For me, mostly the course content was the main focus for applying to this KTH, and I did see the Q ranking, and that is one of the criterias as well, but not that solely, like my decision doesn't solely depend on that. I had in my list some colleges from Netherlands, not from Germany, because I didn't find the exact combination of subjects there. But finally, I decided on KTH. Why? Because I had, although I come from medical engineering background and I did my medical engineering here at KTH as well, but I had the flexibility of choosing courses from other departments apart from mandatory courses that I had to take, and those courses were really nice. They were coming from robotics and computer vision background, and they are the one that helped me to pursue my PhD finally in AI domain. So I really like them, and that's why I took this course and this college. Yeah. Also, I would like to mention one more thing, that to all the students here who will be applying, one should also see whatever course you are applying, how is the job market for that domain in that city or in that country especially, because I don't know how to put this, but if you apply for some not so popular branch here, like not so popular domain here, and then you start looking for job, it will be very hard to find. Let's be honest. I won't I won't say that everything is very easy. So yes, you should also look how the market is in that city, at least to wherever you are planning to do your masters and to whichever program you are planning to do. Yeah.
So in my case, there are few things I saw. The first one was I followed something called CS rankings. So those rankings are based on the research lab. So the research output of each and every university. So my belief was, if the research is good, the people over there are sane enough. Like they're good. So that was my simple criteria. So I looked up all the professors and the research labs and whoever are doing work which I am interested in. So that was one of the criteria I was looking at. The second one was definitely the course structure. So you need to be sure what you want out of your masters. Like you need to be okay, not that sure, at least you need to know which direction you're headed to, whether you want to get back to industry or do a PhD. If you're confused, you need to make sure your course allows that. Like
you need to have the thesis component. Let's say if you want to pursue PhD, or if you don't have the thesis component, are people able to do, like, are they able to choose research after their master's? So you need to have that flexibility in your course structure. And sometimes the course structure is such that almost all the subjects are fixed and you don't have the flexibility to choose other subjects or explore other subjects. So you need to make sure about that as well. If you like the course structure, that's when you're going to actually do great things in your masters, because it's a short duration. It's just 1 or 2 years, and in that also, if you're compromising, that doesn't make sense. So course structure is important. And I think others have pretty much told about everything. I would like to touch upon this: safe, moderate, and ambitious. So usually people tell you this, put all your colleges into one of these pockets and make sure that you have a sure shot admit at the end of the admission cycle. But don't stick completely to it. That stops you to applying to good colleges where you don't even know that you have a shot. So when I was applying to CMU, I was like, I'm just applying for the sake of applying. So now I wish I should have gone a bit like higher. Maybe I would have got that. So that will be there. So if you're okay that I'm not saying like don't keep any safe colleges, but apply to more ambitious, or put more moderate. Like maybe safe should be just one max, or 1 or 2. So yeah, that prevents you from aiming high. So don't do that. And yeah, how to choose the course? So, well, again, that depends on what you want out of your master's. So I was pretty clear that I want to get back to industry. So I know what I want out of my master's. And if you're sure that you want to get into research, then that should also be it. And one more thing I would like to say, the city matters. If you want to get back to industry, your university, wherever it's placed, even if the ranking is not that great, but the location is like really good, you are surrounded by all a tech hub, then you have more shot. Like you can work at better places there. You'll have more connections there. So if I have to take an example, there's SJSU. So it's at a very good location. So people over there, all the alumni, they have very good connections, and it's at a good location. So people get really good jobs. They go to all the fan companies. But if you take some remote college, which is in some remote location, then they find it like a bit harder to get opportunities. So that time the ranking matters. So if you're at a good college, then you'll get more offers. So unlike in India, the companies don't come to campus. So we have to search for jobs. So over there, your ranking, your location, all that matters. So just make sure you have all those factors in place when you're choosing your university and your course structure.
Great. Very well put, actually. Yeah. So, Pradeep.
Yeah. So to start with, like whether you should place universities in brackets, I would say yes, because you can only apply to a limited number of universities, since the application fees for each university is also pretty high. So I agree that you should place them in brackets, but do know that the whole process is also very luck based. As Meghna pointed out, that like you could get one of your ambitious universities. So make sure that you have enough from each category, and do apply to universities that you feel are ambitious. But then, yeah, like a side note that it is very luck based. The criteria that I chose to apply to universities, that was mainly based on so did I care about rankings? Maybe not as much. Like I didn't care enough about the university rankings, but then I cared a lot about the course rankings, or the ranking for the robotics department in these universities. And that was one of my major criteria. Apart from that, and that's mainly because like if the ranking is high, you would have better like more funding and better research opportunities. So that's one of the main reasons. Now, like the university ranking also does play a role, and I agree with Meghna on the fact that if the universities are highly ranked, you would have a really good career fair or opportunities to apply to companies. So that's certainly true. But otherwise, I personally feel that the course ranking matters more than the university ranking.
All right, so moving ahead with the questionnaire. Next up, I have how to fund your master's. What were your strategies? Was it student loans, savings, scholarships, or part time? What to depend on and what to choose before we make this decision?
You were actually breaking up for me. Can you ask the question again, Shreya?
Oh, yes, yes. So, how do you fund your master's? Do you use scholarships or part time jobs? What do you target at before you decide to do a master's?
Okay. For me, I have looked at scholarships as well while applying, because I had a clear vision that I would be doing my master's at Europe. And then I started looking. So once I finalized my top best colleges, which I wanted to apply for, then I started looking for scholarships and the deadline for scholarships, and then I have applied accordingly. And then I have talked to multiple alumni or the seniors who are actually studying at these universities. I connected them on LinkedIn and asked them how things are over here, and how hectic is the curriculum, and could they actually do a part-time job with their curriculum. So most of them have suggested not to take a part-time in the first year, because you're just moving to a new country. You don't have language. You have a barrier at language. You don't know people, and then they have asked me to take my time for 1 year. Don't do any part-time, and then. To be honest, the curriculum is pretty hectic here, because it's not a semester basis over here, it's quarter basis. So all the courses are targeted to finish in every quarter is like 2.5 months. So basically they're focusing on finishing 120 credits in 2 years. So it is very hectic, especially in the university which I am pursuing. I have no idea about other universities in Europe, but I'm guessing it should be similarly like hectic. Masters is definitely hectic, I would say. So it is quite difficult to do a part-time jobs or anything. But scholarships, yes, you do get scholarships, and there are multiple scholarships. But then it mostly matters on your motivation, and then your CGPA, and then the projects which you have done earlier, and your motivation on why you're doing it here, and your research interest. So there are multiple factors again which account for the scholarships here. And yeah, so I have been doing internship, and then there are like multiple activities within the university, like being a teacher assistant or a research assistant, which you can do in second year. So you don't have to worry about living expenses for second year at least. But first year, yeah, I didn't do any part-time work, because I had no time to do other work as such. And in the second year, yes, now I'm doing as a teacher assistant, and then faculty student representative, and then community officer. I've been taking a lot of charges, I would say. But then it's really fun that you interact. And last year was very bad in terms of COVID, because we had no like student teacher interaction, or the students interaction was all online. So I find this year very nice, because I can interact with many students, with juniors, and then with professors. I'm going to campus, so it's nice now. Yeah, so that's the case. At least the university I'm studying, and I have no idea about other universities. Maybe in Ocean and others can tell about how it's over there.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, so for me, my master's was self-funded. I didn't get any scholarship. Well, I didn't apply for any scholarship. I missed the dates. I missed the deadlines. But yes, of course, there are many scholarships available through the college, and as well as through EIT Digital and other things. That's what I know, at least in Europe, that's how it works. They are very I won't say they are very, very difficult, but they are difficult because they do depend on your motivational letter and your overall academics and other things. If you have what I have mostly seen, if you have experience, like work experience, it's easy to get, for which I don't understand why, because the people who have work experience do have some money to fund. So maybe they can give
True.
some scholarship to those who don't have, or who have like a not so good financial background, or they have some difficulty, but that's not how it works. And other than that, what was yeah, for the part time, I did work part time. I was teaching, so I used to teach high school and IB school students maths and physics and chemistry. So that's how I managed everything here from my first year itself. So it was not that difficult. um, that's how I did it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't want to talk about myself because I didn't have any scholarship, same as Oshin. But yeah, I worked for 3 years, so I had my own personal savings. So apart from that, I took like my dad is sponsoring my education. So talking about scholarships in USA, you don't get those many scholarships, but there's something called tuition waivers. So all the public colleges, if you work as a teacher assistant, you take up any of these teaching assistant or research assistant positions, you usually get tuition waivers. So all you have to do is just have enough money for your housing and your daily expenses, which is fine, not that much. So yeah, TAs and RAs are the way to go. Like apart from that, in USA, I'm not pretty sure how you can fund yourself. Yeah, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so tuition fees are pretty high in US, and I would recommend getting like teaching assistantships or research assistantships that would cover most of your like you'll get a tuition waiver, and you can cover most of your tuition. But apart from that, I think living expenses are also very high. So I know people who also do like part-time jobs on top of like TAs and RAs. Um, Apart from that, I would say that like the job opportunities here in the US are much better. So like post your masters, like doing in like doing like working here for like a couple of years would help you like cover most of the costs if you're taking a loan. So I think for me personally, uh, I came here directly after my undergrad, and um, my education was also sponsored by my parents, so I didn't have to take a loan. But for most of my other friends, they ended up taking a loan and paying it off with their first job.
All right. So before we
One
move
second,
ahead,
just to
yeah,
add
sure.
on one thing. So, I recently got to know that it's not called part time, but I know one of my seniors. He's working with a company. So in USA you have a limit with your student visa. Initially, you cannot work more than 20 hours per week. So based on that limit, somehow he got an opportunity. So he's getting paid as well. So he's working with a company. So well, that could also be one of the ways you can fund yourself. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
also possible.
Right.
To add on top
Great.
of that, I think in similarly in Europe you have this thing, you can do your thesis with the company. So if you get a thesis with the company, then the company will pay you, and then you get to do your thesis with, like it's a combined with university and the company. So if you get an opportunity like that, I would say go for it, because there are many cases, at least for chemical engineering, the department doesn't allow to do that. But other than chemical engineering and TUDEF, all university, like all departments, have an opportunity to do with the companies. And I've seen many people doing internship in the second year. They're like fully funded by themselves. They don't have to worry about their living expenses at least. They can do with the company, and then they get their living expenses covered with that. Yeah, that's all I have
All
to
right.
add.
Great. Quite interesting inputs. So before we move ahead, We'll be having an open discussion round after this question answers. So all the audience, you can type in your questions with your name and the guest name if it's specific to them. So now another question for the day is, coming to application documents, how would you rank your documents in terms of importance? It includes definitely CGPA, CV, LOR, SOP, extracurriculars, internships, work experience, and published papers. So if you were to rank them, what would you give most priority to?
It again depends on the university, I would say. For me, definitely your CGPA matters. At least a minimum 8 is required to get into a very good university here. And then in Europe, your GRE really doesn't matter, at least for our university, but for some branches like computer science and EC or like electric, but there are few branches which ask for GRE, and TOEFL or IELTS is mandatory. So I would say your motivation letter, like the SOP speaks a lot about yourself. That is more important, and your grade. If you qualify for TOEFLs or IELTS, that's more than enough. You don't have to have a very high scores in
that. Yeah, for me, I would say it's definitely very important to have good academics. Apart from that, very nice motivational letter. And I think what I have observed here, if someone is looking for job after masters, I think it's nice to have some kind of job experience that adds up anyways. Like, you are definitely ahead of the crowd, those who don't have a work experience, I think, in any ways. So it's good to have work experience. That also counts a lot. Other than that, I would say motivational letter is very important, and academics is important. Yeah.
So answer to this question, no one knows. Frankly speaking, no one knows. It's a black box. Okay, you just know you're just passing few numbers to this black box, and there is some output coming. Admit, no admit. That's it. So okay, let's try to think as okay. I'm in the admission committee, so let's try to think that way. So I have a bunch of applications. There are a few numbers. So how am I going to get a subset of these applications? So okay, one thing is CGPA. So I know for sure that somebody who gets more than 8 is good enough. They can handle pressure, because during masters there will be pressure, there'll be a lot of pressure, and you need to be able to sail through it. So 8 above, okay, I'm good. So I'll get few bunch from the like huge number of applications. Then I'll see TOEFL, GRE, just the cutoffs. 315 above, I'm good enough. So I'll get a lower subset. Then I have something called SOP, LOR, and what else do we have? And your resume, your work ex, projects, etc. So when I see the SOP, I want to see what exactly the person wants out of his or her masters. So I'll go through your SOP, I'll see your interests, what are your future plans, what did you do till now. So everything, it's a statement of your of your plan ahead. So I'll see if you're really into it, and your research interest matches the university's interest as well, then I'll be slightly inclined, oh, this person is actually genuine about his interest. Now LOR is very tricky. So let's say I'm in the admissions committee, and you give me an LOR, somebody is recommending you. If I know that person, I'll be like, oh, if this person is saying, it must be true, I'm going to take that person. But if I don't know that person, I don't care. It's as simple as it is. It's equivalent to 1 or 0. That's it. So, well, if the professor who's recommending you, or the company that they are from, like if your manager is recommending you, if they know that company, you need to trust the source, right? So then it will matter in your application. Otherwise, it's nothing. So just think about it. So yeah, LORs are there. So SOP becomes your main part which differentiates you from the whole bunch of people. So SOP is really important. And CGPA, because that's the first barrier. If you don't clear that, again, I'm not saying you need to have high scores, otherwise, you cannot achieve anything. That's not the case. It's just a factor which they see because to gauge from a bunch of applications. So I think this is how they think. It's all cutoffs. Like if you get 350, a lot of people ask, should I write GRE again? All that. It's not required. But again, if you don't get through it, don't blame me. So yeah, it's a black box. Nobody knows. But this is how you might want to think how the admissions committees work. So yeah, and WorkX, again, it depends on the course. So if it's research based thesis based masters, usually they don't care about WorkX. All they care about is your research experience, your projects, and what you have actually done in that particular field. But whereas if it's a professional master's or if it's an MBA program or something, then your WorkX comes into play because that's where they gauge. So usually the professional masters are it's just an icing on top of the cake. So they'll just prepare you enough to be better in industry. So they want people who know stuff, and they're just going to build on top of it. So professional masters is a different game altogether. So for that, WorkX matters. But if it's a research based masters, I don't think WorkX matters that much. A lot of people go right after their undergrad. So yeah, this is how I would like to put in. But yeah, it's very subjective and it's purely luck based. Like, yeah.
Very interestingly put, I would say. So moving on with Pratik.
Yeah, so I think I liked the answer that, I mean, no one really knows. That's very true. But I think, so something that was not touched upon earlier is about like publication. So I feel that really depends on the program that you're applying to. Like if it's a research focused course, then publications do matter, but publications matter as long as they are in the top conferences in your field. Otherwise, they don't make much of a difference. With regards to the other criteria like CGPA and like SOP and those kind of things. So first, I would say I feel that CGPA and the university play a major role. The university where you have done your undergrad. So just for reference, it's always a good idea to talk to your seniors to see what kind of universities they have got and like what profile they had, because it's more or less going to be similar every year. And I think the differentiating factor there would be your statement of purpose. So if you can, if you have a really good motivation of like why you want to do a particular coursework, include as much details as possible from like the research work that you want to pursue or like professors that you want to work with, and that would make the difference. So I would say, yeah, CGPA and your university would be most important, and then SOP. Publications will matter as long as it's a research focused course.
All right, great. So thank you all for your valuable insights. This definitely cuts through a lot of clutter. And before we begin with the open discussion, I would like to draw your attention to the Reticulum Discord server. We know that reaching out to seniors or your colleagues, your managers can quite be a daunting task. And thus, we have a platform at Discord where we try to provide you with a space so that you can get a feedback, get your questions answered, and get advice from seniors who have a similar profile with you. So make sure you check that out. We'll put the link in the chat box as well. And with that, let's get started with the open discussion round. All right. So for the first question, we have it's by Somal Chakravarti, and she has this question. She's asking: is it fair to assume 35,000 to 45,000 USDs, a practical range of tuition fee that universities mostly charge for MS in US? Also, if you can tell us a bit more about the living expenses while paying back the tuition fee loan. this is the question she has. So let's just, I will ask this question to Meghna and Prateek since they are pretty much developing best.
Okay, so it's a tricky one because it involves money. So each one of us have like different opinions. So 35K, well, yeah, I guess it's fine. But again, it depends. So there are like public colleges and private colleges. Usually the public colleges are, the tuition is like really less compared to the private ones. And housing and other expenses entirely depend on the city. So I live in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is relatively a lot cheaper than say New York. Okay, so New York, they pay a lot of money. So Pittsburgh is a lot cheaper. So that way I'm a bit relieved, thankfully. So yeah, private ones are usually pretty costly, but yeah. Did I answer the question? I just heard about the tuition fee. That's it, right?
Yeah. It's
Okay.
much.
Yeah, so if you're concerned about the tuition, you might want to look into the public colleges. All the UCs, they are a lot better. Again, the location over there is the offset. So like if you need to strike the right balance, I don't know, let me think of a college, maybe Texas A&M. That's better. So the tuition is also less, the living expense is also less, and it's a good college. So if you want to strike a balance, maybe you would like to think that way. But if you are like, okay, let me spend more money and maybe some other college, again, it's a trade-off. It's a personal thing. So yeah.
All right. Okay, so yes, Prateek, do you have anything to add to this?
Yeah, not much to add, but just I mean, if tuition is a concern, there are other ways of paying it off. But 35, I would say for like just to give a rough estimate, it's around 20K a semester for public universities, and it's going to be like 1.5 times that if you're looking at private universities. So that's the range. Living expenses are anywhere around 500 to 1K a month, depending on where you live. If you're living on the West Coast in California, you're looking at living expenses of like, again, 1.5 times that. But if you're on the East Coast or or not in cities, then your living expenses would be much lower, like around $500 to $1,000 a month.
All right. So moving on forward, we have a question for Meghna. It's from Kranti Kiranjeevi. She says that you mentioned that you have switched your field from hardware to computer vision. And for the application material, how can one go about highlighting their work experience if it's not directly related to their current area of interest?
So in my case, I was working in the hardware industry, but I was working on autonomous cars and mobile phones. So I tried to connect all those dots on the other side. So the story I painted was, hey, you know what? I work with the hardware industry on these things. Now I want to work in the software part. I want to write algorithms which makes the hardware more efficient. So that's how I connected the dots. So you need to find a way where your research interests align and you're able to write a story which sells. So I guess they were impressed. So I got the admit. But again, you can go wrong as well. So you need to be a bit smarter. In my case, it was not too diverse. They go hand in hand, hardware and software. So it was slightly easier for me. And the funny part was I wanted to play it safe while applying for my master's, and I applied to all EC, like electrical departments, and I got rejects from those. So I was actually surprised. I got admits from the computer science department. So, well, the story was sold. Like it worked out. So you need to paint a good picture, I guess. So you need to connect it properly. So highlight. I think the one thing I always used to crib about is, oh, it's not connected. How would I apply all that? But I think you should just go with your instinct. Try to talk to people who have worked in both the industries and both the fields, and get to know their perspective. So everything is pretty much interlinked. So you just need to know how to put it in your SOP.
All right. So another question we have is by Kashish D. Mehta, and she asks if research is the main goal, is it possible to directly apply for PhD instead of master's? So I think Oshin ma'am, you could relate with this question. So maybe you would have something to talk about this.
I think not in Sweden. I don't know about other countries, but not in Sweden. Like in Sweden, they have explicitly mentioned that they are looking for bachelor's and master's qualification for your PhD. But I don't know about other European schools here. Maybe
I
Renuka
think
can
it's the
tell.
same with TUDELF as well. Like most European colleges, even I plan to check on doing a direct PhD, but then that was there only with US, with some of the universities in Europe. I didn't find.
Yeah, I would like to say that there are some schools in USA that I know some of my friends are doing PhD directly, and in Canada as well. I don't think so that's possible in Europe. They do ask for your master's qualification.
Yeah.
All right. I
So
think
I can add something here. So yes, in USA you can apply directly to PhD. So the only thing is you need to have good research experience, like in your undergrad, or you must have been working with a research lab at least. You need to have papers. So it's very competitive. So yeah, you need to be really strong on your research front to apply directly to PhD. Again, in your PhD, if you go directly, the first 1.5 or 2 years, you're supposed to complete your master's. So you need to complete those credits, and that's when you start your thesis. So that's how it works if you're going directly for a PhD.
another person I think who can answer this question is Ashwin because of his experience with research and PhD. So do you have anything to talk about this?
I mean, one thing I can actually add for Kashish's question is that, first of all, directly applying PhD in US is damn difficult. I'll be honest, you need 9+ CGPA, frankly speaking, especially for US. For Europe, to add on to what Oshin added and what Renuka said, yes, there are a couple of places where you can apply for direct PhD. For example, mine was a direct PhD. I didn't apply for master's. But I would actually point out one thing, maybe we should not divert from the topic today, is that we are planning a PhD event specifically. So Kashish, you're very much welcome to join that event. So we can, continue this discussion there. Okay. So let's hand it over back to Shreya. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So another question is by Shrivardhani Reddy, and she asks a question to Meghna, and it is having somewhat shifted your career from hardware to CV. Could you tell us more about things to do to improve chances of selection to master's program different from the bachelor's degree?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the second part.
Yeah, she's asking how to change your master's program from a different bachelor's degree.
Yeah, so my background is in ECE, and I applied to CS school. So CS and electrical school, it's fine. It becomes difficult when you're from, let's say, mechanical and you want to shift to, let's say, you want to do something in computer vision or robotics. So for that also, I have seen people here, they have joined mechanical masters, but in USA, you have so much flexibility that you can take courses from any department that they are actually doing all CV courses and ML courses. So it's pretty flexible here that way. You can get into the electrical school and do the courses of CS. That's the worst case scenario. So you can do that as well. Again, like applying to masters, for each program, if you go to their website, there are some prerequisites for that particular course. So if you're clearing those prerequisites, you're free to apply. Like, for example, all the machine learning and all the CS courses, the main prerequisites are data structures, or you need to have your math background. So if you're from EC or EEE, usually you must have done all those in your undergrad, so it shouldn't be a problem. But yeah, if you're from very let's say metallurgy, and they don't have data structures, so that can become difficult. Again, even those people, they do courses online, so sometimes that works out. But yeah, there's no hard stop. You shouldn't like stop applying only because you're from a different field altogether. So over here it's quite flexible. You can take any courses you want and you can explore as much as you want, so that shouldn't be difficult. But if you have any particular question, like a very specific question in your case, you can maybe ping me later and we can discuss more.
Great. So this is probably the last question from the audience. Premchand has a question for Renuka ma'am, and he asks that he's from economically weaker section. Even for loans, he does not have a surety if he will get a loan or not. So what are his best options to do masters in abroad in economical way, which is not so expensive? So yeah, what do you have anything to talk about this?
Yeah, so if you are looking for universities of with less tuition fee, my best bet is going with Germany, because I've seen and heard from multiple people that in Germany the tuition fee is almost like very negligible, like you get your whole fee paid by the government or something like that. So and then there are multiple scholarship in Germany, and then the only barrier could be the language. So just look for courses if they are offered in, if the one which you're looking at, if they are offered in English, because there are only few courses, like few universities offer courses in English in Germany, as far as I know. Maybe Simran has more idea about Germany, with the universities in Germany. Yeah, maybe you can add there.
Yes, definitely. Germany is a lot cheaper. Tuition fees mostly waived, or you have a lot of DARD scholarships and other scholarships. Especially if you want to go for Germany, do check DARD, DAAD. You have all sorts of programs and scholarships, and there are a lot of courses now coming up in English, at least in all the mainstream stuff. So you can go for it. One other thing is, depending on what field you're interested in, you can see location which industry is where. For example, I was doing in translational medical research, and I was in Heidelberg Mannheim, which is like very close to Merck or Roche, and there's another Novartis. So all the pharma companies were situated nearby, and I think that was that was one of the reasons why I decided to go for it. So yeah.
I would like to add, I'm not sure, but I think even if you want to do masters in Germany, and even if it is English, I think you need to have some kind of German knowledge, like some language. I don't know. No,
No,
not necessary.
no. When I did my master's,
Okay.
in fact, I did my master's in Germany. I did not know German. I'm in Switzerland now. I still don't know. I have to learn it. But yeah,
Okay.
I honestly did not need it at all.
Okay,
Everyone in
because
academic circles speaks
or
English.
maybe or maybe it also depends on the course and on the college, because I know that few of my friends, they wanted to go to Germany and they stayed back after their bachelor's and completed the minimum criteria for German. So I think it also depends on the course. So
Yeah, I
maybe for
agree
your
with you.
course it was not necessary, but maybe whoever has asked the question, maybe for your course it's necessary. So just have a
Yeah.
look what are
Yeah,
the
I totally agree with
requirements
that.
and all.
Mostly for many mechanical courses, mechanical engineering, Germany is one of the hubs, and many of those need German. But day by day, increasingly, it's switching to English. There are a lot of courses for international people. So, as Ocean pointed out, we should definitely check, eligibility for your own course and how it's working out there.
Yeah, and to add on top of that, if you're looking in Netherlands, because the reason I had Netherlands in my mind was the lot of process industries which I was planning to go for. So if you're planning in that way, so first look at the prospects of the place on where you can, if you can actually, oh, okay, so you're from mechanical. Yeah, so then I would say go for Germany. Yeah, I think it's the best fit for you. Yeah.
All right. So now this ends the open round discussion. If the audience has any more doubts, you can message us on our social media handles, or you can connect with our guest panel members on their LinkedIn accounts. And now I would like to call Harsh for closing remarks.
Sure. Thanks, Shreya. And thank you all the guests for taking time out of your schedules and across different time zones and sharing your experience with us. And thank you everyone for the interactive discussion. This was a wonderful session, and really glad to have you over for the session. And now Ashwin can put the closing remarks. Yeah.
Okay, thanks a lot, Oshin. Thanks a lot, Renuka, Meghna, and Pratik for joining us. That was a really cool and really helpful session for all of us. And before we could actually wrap up, I would just have one last question to all of you, and that would, I think, would be very important. Is that most likely I would say maybe Pratik could relate to it more as compared to Meghna and Renuka, because they already had the job. Is that when you actually apply for the programs, there's always this time period when you have applied and then you don't know what's going to happen in the next couple of months, right? How exactly did you guys go about it? Because that's the mental stress which everyone needs and which everyone goes through. And most importantly, for the finalist students, for example, for Pratik, I would say, your guys, your friends are getting placed for, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 LPA or something like that. And then you are like, just waiting there. How exactly do you go about it? Because I can completely relate with that. So could you just put some some advice to the students out there?
I mean, that's certainly true, because in my case, NIT Trichy does not let you sit for placements if you want to do a master's. So it was really painful because I didn't have the opportunity to like sit for placements, and I just had to apply and wait for universities. It was stressful, but I would say yeah, I mean, as long as you're sure that you want to do it, it's gonna happen. So you just have to believe in yourself and just wait it out. The other thing I want to point out is with US universities, there's some universities have this early application, like they have two application deadlines. I decided to apply to a few of those early applications, and I got an admit pretty early. So that gives you some mental assurance that you'll be fine. So I would say that's something to look into.
Thanks. Would Oshin or Renuka or Meghna, would you like to add something on that? Meghna, you could go first.
Yeah, so simple thing, don't take stress, because that's it. That's all I can say. I mean, okay, in my case, I had a job, so I didn't have that stress. But let's say I'm in my final year. No, I was just thinking. I was just thinking about, like, how would they know that you're applying for masters? Like
You need
NIT
LOR.
stuff. Oh, if I don't take LOR,
we
they
had a
won't
no
let you
objection
know, right?
certificate.
Okay.
Even
I
in
was
our
just thinking
college,
that.
even in NIT Warangal,
Mhm.
there's no hard-bound thing that if you're applying for masters, you should not sit for placements. But if you do sit for placement and don't take the job, then that company will blacklist you, and all your juniors curse you, and your department talks about it. And it was for most of the people, it's usually understandable and doesn't go wrong, right? Because their companies come and they take a lot of people. But for in biotech, there was this one company which takes only one person, and then that person decided to not to go for masters, and it was a whole thing. But I mean, it's a balance, right?
Right.
But everyone needs to have a backup. You need to have sense of
one simple thing, I usually play it very safe in my life. I don't risk it that much. So my advice would be, okay, let's say you're not getting a job, at least try applying to research labs in India. So try to work with a prof. That will be so much better than just worrying. So you have a backup in your hand, and let's say you get an admit, you go. Otherwise, you work with a prof, so which is equally good. So keeping your backups is very important. Playing safe is very important for your mental health. So yeah, that's all I could say.
Thanks. And Renuka and Oshin, any other comments?
Yeah, I totally agree with the points which Simran and Meghna told, because you have to play safe. It's your life, and it's up to you how you want to, play it. So always play safe. Have some options with you, and if you're applying for masters and you can't sit for a job, then have multiple. Like look for. You know that there's some short universities where you would get in definitely, and then they're going to release their admits way earlier. So just try applying for them first and get your one admit, and then you're safe now. So then you can wait for other universities which release their offers in April or March. Then you wait for it. So first make sure that you land in one university, and then now you're like safe. Like okay, even if everybody reject me, I have one thing with me now. So at least have that option with you. Yeah, that's all.
I think whatever Meghna said, I played very safe in that way. I also did my research assistant work in IIT, and I had that. It was like my contract was for the whole year, so I had nothing to lose. And I think you should play safe in that case. You shouldn't be like you have nothing in one hand and you are trying several things. It shouldn't be like that. But at least you should trust yourself. I won't say that it's okay if you don't have anything, you don't end up with anything. It's fine. Just trust yourself and it will happen.
No, actually, I mean, just a small thing to add in this one. I was in exact same situation in my final year when Meghna and Renuka both were placed, and I did not have any job. I did not sit for any placements, but I did the thing that Renuka said. Right, I applied for multiple schools, and there were some schools which offered me. I had offer letters way in advance, like somewhere in January or something. Though the school that I actually chose, I got offer letter in April. So I had something in hand, and I knew that it's a good enough school and I can go there. And that gave me a little bit, mental sanity that I needed when everyone is placed and enjoying final year, and I'm still sitting doing applications and interviews. So I think that's the balanced way to go.
I mean, you could always work in a startup. You have multiple options, so it's okay. Otherwise, you apply to spring, like apply in spring. So it's fine. Like it's not the end of your life. Yeah, I think we are making it sound like too like, oh, it's the end of the year. You have to do it. Like no, you can take your time. It's fine. There's no issue. Yeah.
Okay, so thanks a lot for the motivating words, actually, especially for the students out there and who want to apply. To wrap up, I would like to just draw your attention to two things. First of all, is that we had a lot of discussion about SOP and resume and all that. I would just like to introduce that on our Reticulum website. We do have a couple of things which at least help me and Simran and other people to, design their own resume and stuff like that. So you can check them out. And to the guests, I would say if you have better resources, which I'm pretty sure you guys have, would be great that if you could, get in touch with us, and we would like to feature it over here. And the second thing I would like to mention is that this specific event is actually part of a try event series. So on 9th of October, we're going to have another event, but that's going to be focused most on management, like MEM and MIM programs abroad. But on 17th, which might be more relevant to all of you, would be these application documents and process, in which we're going to discuss about how the interviews, for example, work in the master's application, or how the CV you're going to write, what the SOP is, and things like that. That's something which we're going to touch. To wrap up, I would say that connect with us on the Discord server. The link already has been put up by Simran, I guess, and this is just the Discord server that we have, and we like discussing something. We have our own couple of video series going on that you can also check it out, and would be great to share your own experience and help each other grow. We also have, I think, Meghna and Renuka are already there on the Discord server, from what I know. So you can also ask your questions there itself. And with that, I would like to thank you all for joining. Thanks a lot for the nice discussion and lively discussion. And then connect, share, and grow, as I say. And have a nice weekend. Okay, goodbye.
Bye.
Bye,
Have a nice
Bye.
weekend.
Bye, guys.
Bye.